Hey, be a squid and subscribe to my mediocrity.
Alright, how's it going everybody? Today we're going to be looking at Ash Prime. It's been a minute since I've played some Warframe, but as you guys know from my recent post, I actually picked this man's up and I have just been... Oh, it has been fun. I tell you what, it has been very, very fun. There's a lot of pros and cons to Ash, and before I go full like Forma on this man's, I just want to go over my build currently, just, playing around with them and whatnot. So this is going to be a zero Forma build. I might talk a little bit about some weapons, but most importantly, I just want to clarify that this is mainly about Ash, and whatever weapons you choose to use is kind of up to you, but I will be mentioning some things that I prefer to use so that way you guys can maybe get an idea, or I don't know, do whatever you want. But ultimately this build will be changing in the future, and I will do a separate video on whenever I finish with the Forma build, if it even needs one. But before we get into all of that good stuff, let's hear a word from our sponsors, boys. Yeah, I know, I'm finally a real YouTuber. I got a real sponsor this time. Okay, listen, boys, alright, it's serious hours right now, okay? ExpressVPN is offering a fire service that protects your information from hackers trying to steal your virtual wallet and even your own internet service providers that is trying to sell your data to ad companies. That is just... I don't approve. That is just way too spooky for me, which is why me and ExpressVPN have teamed up to offer you a sweet deal. If you purchase a 12-month package, you guys can get 3 months for free, which I don't know about you, but I like free stuff. I've been a huge supporter of ExpressVPN since last year. I even reviewed this VPN service before I decided to team up with them. You guys can go ahead and check that out. I'll put a link in the description to that if you want to see the service that it offers, internet speed test, the works. I tested out everything when it came to ExpressVPN, and it was absolutely fantastic, and I love the service. At the end of the day, boys, it's all about safety, all right? I'm just trying to protect my subs, you know what I'm saying? I'm just out here trying to give you guys the peace of mind that you guys deserve. So go ahead and go on down to the link in the description and check out ExpressVPN for yourself. Alright, now that that's settled, let's go ahead and start talking about some pros and cons with Ash Prime. So some of the things that I've noticed is that he's not exactly the best Warframe. He does a lot of damage, can move around pretty effectively, has quite a few different decent, let's say, synergies. I guess we'll go with that. I've seen a few builds, especially the one from Relentless Zen. His build was just, oh god, I couldn't even imagine playing like that, but it was really, really cool, and just a thing that I want to try sometime in the future. But for the basic bitch like me, the main thing that I'm struggling with is survivability. So I've come up with 2 separate builds, one that's based around just straight DPS and being able to utilize Skiajati's invisibility on fatal executions, as well as the other build which is more like just Phantom Spirit mode, where you're just kind of invisible 90% of the time, just kind of meleeing around, just be more of a mobile nuisance than anything else. So starting out with one of the pros is that he is very, very, very damagey. He has insane DPS. Even with a basic build like this, he is outputting a superb amount of damage. You can teleport in, get a quick execution, disappear with Skiajati, rinse, repeat until basically the whole room is dead. He is insane when it comes to damage. Con: he's not exactly the tankiest Warframe, and without his invulnerability on teleports, as well as his invisibility, which the first build has like no duration whatsoever, so the problem is his survivability. Once you run out of energy, you're basically a sitting duck. So he is very energy reliant, as well as his survivability without energy is basically 0. Another pro would be that he's not exactly energy dependent. The build that I have, and I've tested it, he's actually not very, what's the word here? I guess dependent on energy. You can easily maneuver around with all your ultimates, as well as your teleporting. Even, spam kunai for a good bit. Not that kunai does a lot, but you can actually do pretty well with the energy pool that you have. His efficiency is not very high either, so Ash is actually kind of comfortable with not really, sucking energy dry, unlike something like, let's say, Banshee or something else that's using something consistent. I guess a con, this could be a pro and a con depending on how you see this, but we'll put this in both, right? So he's sort of dependent on slash damage. His passive is based around slash, so not running a slash weapon feels kind of bad. So for me, it's not that bad of a con for me. It's not even really a con because I love running, nakanas or slash weapons. I mean, these are like some of the funnest weapons in the game. So I don't really have a problem doing that. But for people that are running something else entirely or wish to run something else, it could be a con because like you want to run something that doesn't necessarily benefit from his passive. So you're kind of useless with this passive that does nothing because of the weapon you've chosen. But essentially that's kind of all that I could really think of. There's not really a lot of pros and cons. It's Warframe after all. Everything is essentially broken and is meant to be broken. So the way I see it is he does a lot of damage, low survivability without energy. That's pretty much the highlights right there. So now let's go ahead and go over the first build, which is what I like to call Death God. This is essentially your teleport murder build. You're just gonna teleport around, use your ultimate, use your fatal teleport, get a bunch of executions, proc GamerTag's passive where you go invisible, rinse, repeat. That's essentially the whole basis for this, is just using GamerTag's passive as well as using your fatal teleport and your ult. That's it. There's not really much to this build. It's essentially just heavy strength, a little bit of efficiency, a little bit of range, and that's kind of the highlight. You don't really need duration, and because of that, you're not going to be using much of your invisibility, mainly due to the fact that it's going to be like 2 seconds long. So completely useless. Don't use it at all. Just rely on GamerTag's invisibility. That's pretty much going to be your bread and butter for this build. Obviously, if you're not using GamerTag, well, I don't know what to tell you because that's pretty much how I've been playing Ash Prime is with that. So now we're going to be taking a look at the damage from our ultimate really quick, just so you guys get an idea as to how this is going to play out. So this is pretty much the damage right here. It's pretty substantial. I'm not going to lie. I was pretty surprised whenever I saw it. I was like, whoa, I don't need a lot of Forma to make this dude hurt. These are 110 heavily armored targets, and they just got mowed down. And like the thing about this build, right, for the most part, it essentially relies on this right here. You disrupt with this move. It CCs quite a few targets. It may not look like they're getting CC'd, but like they're going to be busy dealing with that. And whenever you get an execution on your teleport, you're essentially invisible, and then they're stuck dealing with your clones. And that's pretty much how I've been playing Ash Prime. So right now we're going to go ahead and take a look at how I would play this in a real scenario. So as you guys see, I open up with teleport right there, and that puts me invisible, which they're completely unaware of where I am. I mark them all with my ultimate, and then I peace out. This is pretty much core mechanics for Ash, unless you have some serious Forma going on, because he has like no survivability. So essentially you're letting your clones do all the work. They're doing a bunch of slash damage. You can teleport in real quick just to get a few little jabs and just look real sicko mode for a little bit. But the main thing that I want to highlight for this right here is that when you teleport in, it actually uses no energy, not from your initial starter from your ultimate, but you actually don't use any energy for the teleport, which is actually pretty nice because you're completely invulnerable while you're teleporting around killing people. Now at this point I've pretty much destroyed all these mobs, and there's not really much left for me to do. It's that simple. It's pretty much that simple. I used my ult like once or twice, and then I just teleported around and insta killed things. That was the highlight. That's Ash Prime in a nutshell. And most things aren't gonna have mobs that high level, so don't even worry about it. This is the second build. This is what I call Phantom Spirit, and it's essentially where you stay invisible, utilize more of your weapons, your slash passive, all that other stuff. Pretty much you're utilizing your whole kit realistically, everything you bring. You're not relying so much on the fatal teleport, you're not relying so much on your ultimate. You can still use your ult, of course, but your range is shot to hell, and your damage is not nearly as good as it was. So at this point, it's basically about whatever your loadout is. So this is where your weapons and stuff are going to matter. All right, so now we're going to take a look at how I would play whenever I am actually using Phantom Spirit. So this one is more about just kind of twinkle toes, going around, dancing around your targets, using your ultimate to just create mass chaos and just let them get hit by a huge array of your ult. And then you're just going to kind of stay invisible, stick to the shadows, use your weapons. For me, I'm kind of just watching the fireworks go off, you know what I'm saying? Because that's just, why not? But as you guys will see momentarily, I start using my weapons and things start to pick up a little bit more. But the most important thing with your ultimate is actually getting those slash procs, because the dot damage is actually pretty huge. Even though your strength is not nearly as high as it was in Death God, the point being is that you need to have those slash procs going so that way they're taking consistent damage, and then You go in with your melee weapon, you go in with whatever your primary weapon, and then you just start mowing things down. And make sure you always keep an eye on that invisibility timer, because that invisibility is very, very important. Whenever you don't have that up, you are extremely vulnerable, and that's one thing that Ash Prime does not like. He does not like to be out in the open, especially with this build, because without any teammates, he is extremely squishy and will die, especially to targets like these where they have a stupid amount of damage. But as you guys see, you guys clear the whole room. It takes a little bit. It's not nearly as efficient and fast as Death God, but it's still pretty good. So overall, Ash Prime is really, really fun. I'm by no means any kind of master, nor is my builds like the God build or anything like that. This is just some shit I threw together, I thought looked cool and worked out. I've been using it in an assortment of missions, and it seems to work okay. I'm sure there's better out there, but for the most part, this is what I'm running at the moment. I'm having a lot of fun with it. As I mentioned in the beginning, I'm going to be doing some money moves and going for some Forma and seeing what else I can do. I'm going to do some exploring around, but for the most part, that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.